end of 2020, and with more than 470,000 COVID-19 cases recorded, Metro Manila and 9 other areas will stay under GCQ because of the surge in cases that are expected after January 2021. As the variant strain of the coronavirus poses more potential dangers and with no approved vaccine yet for distribution, what lies ahead for Filipinos in 2021? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. And welcome to this Tuesday edition of The Chiefs. Joining us tonight, our first guest is Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire. Usec Vergeire, ma'am, maraming salamat po for joining us tonight. And we hope you've been having a good holiday season. I know you're very busy, but thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, sir. Magandang gabi po
Yes,
sa
ma'am.
inyo lahat.
Yes, ma'am. Well, of course, ma'am, we would like to talk about the new variant, yung lumitaw po sa UK, as well as the other issues, for example, yung possible surge that might be reflected after the holiday season. But allow me po to start off with something that's been developing in the last few days. Yun pong medyo naging controversial, yung vaccination po ng mga miyembro ng Presidential Security Group. Ahead of any approval by the FDA. Now, we guessed last night si Dr. Tony Liachon and si Dr. Benjamin Ko, and they were one in saying well, it was in violation of procedure and the law, and in fact, it might be considered counterfeit and illegal. Of course, they're not in government. We are wondering if the DOH has a position already on what transpired as far as these vaccinations are concerned.
Well, first, I'd like to inform everybody that we still do not have the full information on this issue. What we can say, as we have mentioning even before, that we maintain that position, that we only will use for our population registered products or registered vaccines by the Food and Drug Administration. And we are warning the public on the use of these unregistered products because we cannot guarantee the safety and efficacy of these products that were used, which were unregistered.
Mm-hmm. And that's that warning po is very duly noted. But we are wondering lang po, given the admission by the government that it is the government that has been vaccinating members of the PSG, so that already po is an admission. What should be done as far as these vaccinations, these apparently unauthorized vaccinations are concerned? Should they be allowed to continue kahit wala pa pong approval ng FDA? I mean, it is po, of course, it is a continuing question kasi po, habang wala pang approval ng FDA, baka po magpatuloy yung vaccinations.
Well, the law is clear that any product that the population here in the Philippines will be consuming or will be using should be registered by the Food and Drug Administration. And specifically for vaccines, it has to be authorized by Food and Drug Administration. So with this with this law that we have, the RA 9711, we are warning those suppliers and distributors that there is accorded sanctions and violations, no, and sanctions for this kind of acts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Yusek, not to put you on the spot po, pero of course, understandably po, there are sanctions against private individuals and companies who do that. But in this particular case po, it is an admission by government, by the executive. So in that case po, can or will the DOH stop any future vaccinations that are unauthorized, or can that be overruled, for example, by Malacanang?
Well, this is the law of the land, no, and it is part of what we have right now as we implement it. And the Department of Health and the Food and Drug Administration will continue to implement these different or existing laws that we have unless it is amended or revised. So we are going to strictly monitor continuously the use of these unauthorized or unregistered products. We already have provided the warning and the information, and we hope that everybody will comply with existing laws.
Mm-hmm. Allow me po to push it a little bit further. Kasi the one question being raised by Dr. Benjamin Ko and by Dr. Tony Lechon is that the DOH and the FDA should already undertake action to stop unauthorized vaccinations. The onus daw, the burden daw po is now with the DOH and the FDA to make sure that the law is enforced and implemented. So in that particular case po, they're putting the burden, of course, on the FDA and the DOH. Would the DOH be going in that direction?
Oh, well, it has already started, no? Even before, when the first news that some of the members of the population had already been vaccinated or were already provided, we issued warnings, and the Food and Drug Administration has conducted already about three uh, this kind of
Raids. Yes, ma'am.
yes, they did that and was not able to find enough evidence. But we are continuously implementing or doing our mandate, and this kind of monitoring and enforcement of this law will still be continuous, and we will still implement that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, actually, ma'am, I was watching the president's address on Saturday night with FDA Undersecretary Domingo, and mukhang mukhang nagulat din si Usec Domingo nung binanggit ng Pangulo na nagbabakunan na sila. Anyway po, sige po, I'll broaden it a bit po. What could possibly be the repercussions of unauthorized vaccinations, whether it's government or the private sector? Kasi may mga balita rin na meron daw, for example, sa Binondo and then other places na may mga, of course, hindi pa approved na pagbabakuna na ginagawa. Ano po yung posibleng repercussions sa mga gantong gawain doon sa, well, of course, sa ating vaccination program, among others?
Well, unang-una 'no, yung safety nung ating mga kababayan na nabibigyan itong mga ganitong klaseng bakuna. Alam po natin lahat na we have that kind of excitement 'no, over these vaccines because you would like to have an end to this situation. But this is not the right way to go or the right direction to go. Ang unang-una po nating titignan diyan yung harmful effects kung sakasakali dun sa mga individuals na nabigyan. As we know, it is not authorized, it is not registered, so we cannot guarantee if it is safe for the public and if it's going to provide you that purpose that was intended. Kaya kayo binigyan ng bakuna na yan. Isa yan sa napaka-critical na magiging epekto sa ating populasyon or those who had been given these unregistered vaccines. Pangalawa,
Mhm.
erodes the confidence of people dito sa ating proseso, credibility ng proseso natin for regulation and also the confidence of people sa bakuna. Na siyempre tinitignan natin diyan ngayon, gusto natin tumaas ang kumpiyansa ng mga tao sa pagbabakuna natin. And this kind of challenges, no, might be some form of issue for us in the implementation of this vaccine program that we have. So hopefully, we can all get over this and move forward so that we can be able to provide better services to our people.
Mhm. Ma'am, as far as the reports you've been receiving are concerned po, how prevalent is this problem ng mga unauthorized vaccinations?
Oh, well, as I've said a while ago, we already had been receiving this, no, for about weeks already. That there had been personalities or members of the population who had received these vaccines already, and we already have issued warnings and we have disseminated information that can explain to the public the harmful effects of receiving unregistered vaccines. So hopefully we can better educate our population so that they will only accommodate or receive or accept and allow for them to be vaccinated with this registered vaccine. So antayin lang po natin, malapit na po, and as the vaccine czar has been mentioning, there are final negotiations already and agreements, and as early as May we can have the vaccines already.
Mhm. Ma'am, but some people are making that argument that pag volunteer ka naman o kaya pag kusa mo namang tinanggap ang bakuna, there is nothing wrong with that or there's nothing illegal with that. Does that hold water? I mean, as far as the law is concerned ba, is it only the person receiving the vaccine who could be held liable or everybody else down the chain?
Oh, well, according to the law, it's going to be the suppliers, the manufacturers, the distributors, the sellers. They are the ones to be sanctioned by the law. Ito pong mga tumatanggap, wala naman ho yan sa batas, ngunit binibigyan pa rin natin sila ng babala. ito nga po ay illegal at ito po ay maaari makapag-cause ng harmful effects sa kanilang katawan na hindi pa ho natin alam dahil nga po hindi natin nagaransya na safe yang binibigay sa inyo na bakuna.
What po if they use that argument? And I have heard this argument. What if they use this argument na sa China, for example, ilang milyon na yung nababakunahan, or sa US, certain vaccines have already been used on people, and so far wala pa sila nakikitang epekto na masama. How would you address those kinds of arguments being used by people who want to get vaccinated early?
Well, kailangan nilang maintindihan, ano, kaya nga po tayo nagkakaroon ng clinical trial sa iba't ibang bansa, ay para makita ang epekto nitong mga bakunang ito sa iba't ibang klase ng populasyon. Alam po natin ang characteristics or attributes ng isang bakuna, maaring epektibo siya sa isang race but would be different, no, yung effect niya dun sa isang
Mhm.
race. So kailangan natin makita. Kaya nga po tayo sa gobyerno talaga pong hinihikayat natin ang manufacturers that they will have their clinical trials here. Kaya tayo tumatanggap. Kasi gusto ho natin masubukan sa population natin para masigurado po tayo doon sa ibibigay natin na bakuna sa ating populasyon. Now, if they are receiving this kind of vaccines and they would have that kind of reason na naibigay naman pala doon sa Amerika na pwede na, naibigay na pala doon sa isang bansa, epektibo na. But we will never know and we will never be certain what effect it would bring to people like us, Filipinos, kasi iba yung race natin sa kanila.
Ma'am, kanina nabanggit po ninyo na we may have vaccines, at least the authorized vaccines, by May of this year. Can you give us an update on that? As far as we know right now, ano po yung possibly earliest type of vaccine, or brand of vaccine that we can get? And yun nga, and sabi nga ninyo by May. So are we looking at, in this particular case, the Pfizer vaccine or the AstraZeneca vaccine?
Well, the vaccine czar, no, Secretary Galvez already has explained in numerous media fora na meron na ho tayo, no, ng mga mangyayari, no, mga na-agreements which will be finalized as early as January, and the deliveries will be by May, and we are looking at about 25 million doses by May. Ito pong mga sinasabing mga bakuna ay hindi ko mai-disclose sa inyo, no, kung ano talaga yung mauuna dahil it is only the vaccine czar who has the authority to provide that. But he has mentioned about 6 or 7 vaccines which
Mhm.
we are now having these negotiations with. And alam po natin naman na yung mga mauuna yung mga nasa merkado na rin o mga ginagamit na rin sa ibang bansa.
Mhm. Ma'am, if I may ask you lang, kasi over the weekend, naging balita yung Sinopharm. Well, the president himself mentioned that the vaccine from Sinopharm. But until that time that the president mentioned it, it didn't seem to be on anybody's radar in the Philippines. What do we know about Sinopharm? Kasi we've heard about Sinovac, of course. We've heard about Pfizer. We've heard about AstraZeneca, and so on down the line. What do we know po of Sinopharm?
Well, as far as we know, the information that we have, Sinopharm vaccine has already have this, they are using it already in other countries, specifically in China. And they also have released their efficacy rating, no, and which was 86%. So
Mhm.
yan lang po yung alam natin. And aside from that, kasama naman po siya dun sa mga napag-aralan ng ating vaccine experts panel at nailagay dun sa mapa natin, ano, na maari natin makipagkaroon ng negosasyon dito sa kanilang manufacturer. So that is all that we have as information for now.
Yes, ma'am. But we also do know that Sinopharm is I think a state pharmaceutical company, state owned pharmaceutical company. So I'm also wondering, ma'am, in this particular case of the Sinopharm vaccines that were apparently brought in and then administered to members of the PSG, was it a government deal? Do we know of any details on that?
As I've said a while ago, we do not have the full information on what has happened in this report, so I cannot give you any further information on that.
Mhm. Okay, ma'am. I'll move on to the new variant that we've been hearing about from the United Kingdom. Now, this new variant, yung B117, supposedly is 70% more transmissible. Of course, we're talking only so far about yung initial studies, hindi pa to yung mga mas substantial studies. Exactly how should Filipinos look at this new vaccine, this new variant? Should it be cause for concern, or can we go on with what we've been doing in the past few months?
Oh well, unang-una kailangan malaman ng ating mga kababayan this new variant that has been identified, no? Ito ay pareho ng mode of transmission. Hindi po 'yan na bago. It is still droplet infection.
Mhm.
Ang report lang talaga at nakita sa ebidensya, mas transmissible siya. Ibig sabihin mas nakakahawa siya. So tayo, tuloy-tuloy pa rin dapat ang pag-comply sa minimum public health standards para tayo ay makaiwas sa infeksyon na ito. Pangalawa, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng border control, no? Kaya natin nang ginagawa yung imposition ng restriction sa mga travelers para hindi natin ma-further pa, no? Kung sakasakali, hindi na natin mapapasok ang ganitong variants. But let me just inform the public that a virus, according to our experts, nasa natural evolution nila yan, na nag-mutate
Mhm.
sila para
Mhm.
mag-adapt sila sa environment. And this kind of variants happens, no? Nagyayari talaga yan. And accordingly, sabi ng ating experts sa Philippine Genome Center, sabi niya, marami talaga, libo-libo nga yung ginagawang mutations na yan, but not all are harmful. Meron ka lang ma-identify talaga na talagang it will cause this kind of situation in an area. And that is what's happening with us right now, that this virus, the variant of this virus has been identified. No? So tuloy-tuloy pa lang din po ang mga sinasagawa natin even before, yung minimum public health standards pa rin. Ang payo po ng ating mga eksperto, as long as that we keep our cases low, the possibility, we also prevent the possibility of further mutations, no, or production of these variants from the virus. So sana po magtuloy-tuloy lang ang ating mga pagbaba ng kaso para hindi na po tayo mapasukan pa ng bagong variant o di kaya ay future variants of this virus.
Yes, ma'am. But the other question on everybody's mind is, when the vaccine finally gets here. Of course, sabi nga nila, di ba? The virus has been mutating at the rate of around one mutation every 2 weeks or twice a month. So by the time the vaccine gets here, baka nag-undergo na yan ng several mutations. And although, as you said nga naman, most of the mutations are apparently benign. But how certain are we that whatever vaccine we do get protects us from whatever new variant can be here by May of next year?
Well, yan din yung sinasabi ng ating mga eksperto, no. Unang-una ngayon, talagang kailangan pang mapag-aralan pa ng mas mahusay, no, itong variant na ito vis-a-vis the vaccines that we have right now. And ang sinasabi din ng ating mga eksperto, ito naman po ay madaling mag-adapt, no, itong mga manufacturers pag napag-aralan na at nakita natin na merong kaunting epekto dun sa bakuna na ating pinoproduce, madali nilang maiaayos yan. Hindi naman po para mag-umpisa ka uli sa bagong proseso. So we are continuously studying this new variant, but for now, experts are saying wala pa ho tayong masasabi and wala pa tayong masasabi in finality na it can affect the efficacy of our vaccines.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, ma'am, just the other night we had one of our guests, si Professor Guido David of Octa Research, and he pointed out that the numbers that we've been getting so far, at least the other day, mukhang encouraging. Sabi niya bumaba sa 0.95 yung R naught ng ating bansa. Although meron siyang proviso doon na well mukhang sarado for the holidays ang maraming testing centers. So it is also possible na medyo artificial po yung pagbaba ng ating R naught in the last few days. Of course, the DOH has been warning us for several weeks already that baka tumaas ang ating R naught this December. Are we still looking at the same danger? Are we still having the same concern for this holiday season?
Yes, first we'd like to inform the public, no, na kung ano man po ang naibigay naming babala ng mga unang linggo ng Disyembre, amin pa rin pong yan ibinibigay sa ating publiko, no, na maaari na tumaas ang ating mga kaso by January. We have to remember the incubation period of the virus is 14 days. So kung sakali po na tayo ay naglalabas ngayong Kapaskuhan hanggang sa dulo nitong selebrasyon ng holidays, maaaring makita po natin ang mga pagtaas na yan during the second or third week of January. So inaabangan po natin sana po hindi mangyari, but if it happens, we are preparing. So ito pong sinasabi nating mga kaso, no, for these past days, we have seen 700, 800, and then for today, 800 plus again. Ito po ay dulot, no, ang isang factor dyan would be the operations of our laboratory. So that is right. Some of our laboratories did not operate, and ang isang pinakamalaking factor po, even the laboratories operated, kahit bukas po sila, ang specimens for samples na nare-receive nila are very minimal, and the patients too, no? Hindi sila masyadong nagpunta dito po sa ating mga facilities. And we totally understand, no, na alam niyo naman po ang Pilipino, dahil Kapaskuhan, maybe they don't like to go to the facility even though they need it already. So ito po ay isang factor kaya mababa. And we also are seeing already, base dun sa nakita na nating mga numero na naisumite na sa atin at ibibigay bukas, na medyo may pagtaas na po compared to this 800 and 700. So nakikita na ho natin yung regular trend uli. By tomorrow, pag nakita natin, ganyan na po tayo uli.
Mhm, mhm. At ma'am, yung pasukan natin kasi is January 4 pa, which is Monday. So actually, while the holiday season should end by December 31, may extend yan hanggang January 3 or January 4. So effectively, we still have one whole week of of the holiday season before people start going back to work. I suppose it's a good time as any to for you to leave your message and give a final warning to people about their holiday season habits.
Yes, sir. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang pagpapaalala namin. Hindi pa ho tapos ang ating holiday season katulad ng sabi nyo, and there is this long weekend that we are looking at, no? So padating pa ho yung pagse-celebrate natin ng bagong taon. So ganun pa rin ho ang aming paalala. Maiba naman po ang ating pagse-celebrate ng ating pagsalubong sa bagong taon ngayon. Let's keep it simple. Atin pong maalala na kung ano man po ang ating gagawin ay makakaapekto sa ating kapamilya at sa ating mga kapitbahay and the whole community. So please strictly comply with the minimum public health standards. Huwag ho kayong pumunta dun sa matataong lugar. Lagi ho kayong pag lumabas kayo, nakasuot kayo ng face shield and face mask. Mag-maintain po tayo ng 1 meter distance. Kung sakasakaling kailangan talagang lumabas, let's go to these open spaces na well ventilated para po hindi madaling mahahawa sa infeksyon. Gusto rin ho namin magpaalala na dito po sa dadating na bagong taon, no, yung pagsalubong natin ay umiwas po tayo sa mga paputok. Ito po ay meron na ho tayong batas ukol dito. Pinibigyan naman po ng authority ang local governments as long as they get clearance that you can have fireworks, but no crowds, no, should be there para po wala ho tayong paghahawa-hawa. So magkaroon po tayo ng alternative ways of welcoming the new year by using yung mga pampatunog, no, yung mga ginagamit natin, but do not use the horn, yung mga torotot at saka mga whistle, because you're going to remove your mask when you do that, and also pwede ho tayo makapanghawa kung may sakit tayo because we are blowing in this kind
You'll
of
be expelling a lot of
yes, we are
droplets.
going to do that, no? So iwas muna po tayo din sa mga ganyan. So munting paalala lang po, but these reminders, no, no matter how simple they are, it can save lives and it can help our healthcare workers who are continuously working for us all para maging healthy tayo at gumaling tayo sa mga sakit.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire.
Thank you very much po.
We will just go into a gap, so please stay with us. Welcome back to the Chiefs. We are now in the final stage of our conversation, and joining us tonight is Dr. Lulu Bravo, the Executive Director of the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination. Doctora, thank you for joining us again.
Well, thank you for having me and Happy New Year.
Ang aga naman po.
Malapit na yun.
Oh, sige. Ma'am, well,
Para
I'm
masaya
sure
naman
you
tayo lahat, no?
Opo. Ma'am, I'm sure you've heard about what happened over the weekend and the last few days na binigyan ng bakuna without FDA approval yung mga miyembro, at least ilang miyembro ng Presidential Security Group. You've always been concerned about vaccination and vaccine confidence, among other things. I'm wondering po how you reacted to this story na nagbigay ng bakuna ang gobyerno ng walang approval ng FDA.
Well, as you know, Ed, our Philippine Foundation for Vaccination and also the PMA, the PIDSP, the PPS, the medical communities, we are all one in saying that number one, the FDA is the only body that should really take care of authorizing our vaccines, drugs, and everything about registering these drugs. And number two, that we should all listen to experts, especially those who have worked so hard, qualified for vaccination, for vaccine trials, for clinical trials in vaccines, because this is not done overnight. Dapat marami ka talagang qualifications to be able to really look at the vaccine, what vaccine will be appropriate for the country, what vaccine will be able to generate the same effectiveness, ha? Hindi lang efficacy. Effectiveness is also something that you have to look out for. Kasi yung efficacy sa trial lang yan makukuha eh.
Okay.
Pero pag effectiveness, it's in the real world. You have to really look at how many can be vaccinated. So,
Yes,
importante yan. Ang opinion namin dyan lagi, yan. Number one is listen to the FDA. He is the only agency, and then listen to other experts, whether they are the medical, the experts, the scientists, the academicians. And what we have now is something different. We are in a pandemic. And I cannot imagine people na talagang, I think everybody would want to survive in this season. Everybody wants to get a vaccine. Hopefully, that is what I am praying for, that we will have a lot of confidence in our vaccine.
Opo.
In fact, that is the one that we've been doing so far, trying to restore and rebuild and really establish vaccine confidence. Sinabi yan, narinig ko kanina, sabi ni Secretary Usec Vergeire, we are trying to build not just vaccine confidence, but vaccine resilience. Alam mo ba, may difference siyang vaccine confidence at vaccine resilience.
And vaccine resilience.
Yes. Because in vaccine resilience, we want to be able to address immediately. If you are a country which is vaccine resilient, you can address immediately anything, a shock like what is happening now, something that happens and you are not in a position to address the issue, talagang babagsak ang confidence ng mga tao. Kaya kailangan preparado ka rin. Hindi lang preparado ka sa pandemic, preparado ka rin sa anong mangyayari kung merong senaryo na hindi maganda sa iyong pagbabakuna. Merong nagkaroon ng allergic reaction at napabalita, di ba? Maraming nangyayaring ganyan. Anong gagawin mo sa mga information na nagiging infodemics, nagiging exaggerated, nagkakaroon ng mga hindi magandang aftermath, di ba? Yan ang tinatawag na dapat ang gobyerno natin at kaming mga nasa medical societies are willing to help the government. Kasi alam mo naman, sa mulat-mula pa nitong pandemic, this is a different scenario altogether. Kaya nga, hindi ako magtataka na marami talaga na gustong sumakay dito sa ating kondisyones ngayon eh.
Yes, sir. But having said all that, and we agree with everything that you said, but having said all that, we go back to that point nga po na the FDA never gave authorization and is apparently left holding the bag. From all indications, and naglabas ng statement kahapon ng FDA na na wala silang kaalam-alam, and they also warn that they have to enforce the law. Pero next steps po, what should be done now? should people be held liable for what appears to be unauthorized vaccinations? And ito po, number two, given everything that you said, the need for vaccine confidence. Number two po, kahit kung wala pa rin pong FDA approval for these vaccines, should these vaccinations by the government be allowed to continue? For example, kung hindi pa tapos yung vaccinations ng PSG, for example, kung first shot pa lang, kasi two doses po normally yan, di ba? Kung first shot pa lang nabibigay, should they be allowed to give a second shot? These details po.
Actually, tama kayo, Ed. Marami ka nang in-interview. Iisa lang naman ang naririnig kong sinasabi ng ating DOH at saka ng ating mga public health people kagabi, di ba? Ang sabi nila talaga, ang FDA lang ang dapat. Pero ngayong nangyari itong sinasabi ko sa yung vaccine resilience. Anong gagawin mo ngayon? Ang gobyerno natin ay napabalita na nagbigay ng bakuna. So, dapat sumagot sila ngayon dyan. Sumagot na si Dr. Domingo, di ba? Si FDA chief. Ang sabi niya talagang sila lang. Pero mag-iimbestiga sila yan. Diyan sa kondisyon na yan. At tinatanong nila, saan ba nanggaling yan? Definitely, magkakaroon niya ng maraming espekulasyon, di ba? Matagal pa yan bago magawa ng final outcome. Pero while that is going on, sabi mo nga, magbibigay ba, magtutuloy pa? Ang panalangin ko ay hindi. Dapat adresan na muna nila. Total, ang kanilang purpose, from what I heard, is para mabigyan ng safety yung presidente.
Safety cordon ng presidente.
Diba? At naiintindihan ko naman yan. Ikaw ba, naririnig mo rin naman yan. For the sake of national security, narinig ko yan kay Chief Durante. National security, ayaw mong magkaroon ng sakit yung presidente. Kaya iko-cordon sanitaire mo, diba? Yun, parang yun cordon sanitaire. Sila na lang ang magiging risky para maproteksyonan ang presidente. Kasi nangyayari yun, di ba? Si British Prime Minister, si Trump nagkaroon. Buti nga tayo, hindi pa nababalita si presidente. So it is important. I mean, we have to take in all of this into perspectives, di ba? Kasi mahirap din sabihin, national security, ayaw mo magkaroon ng presidente. Willing yung mga PSG na mag-risk. Alam nila yan kasi I'm sure, alam nila na talagang bawal ang unregistered drugs at vaccine. Bakit nila binigay? Bakit nila kinuha? Meron na rin silang, kumbaga, may spectrum na rin sila na mukhang safe naman kasi nakita nila ginamit na sa iba at mostly narinig ko nga nag-research na rin daw sila. Alam mo, diyan ako natutuwa kasi ang mga tao ngayon gumagaling na sa paggawa ng research tungkol sa bakuna, tungkol sa sakit na COVID. Parang wala ka na ngayong masasabi na espesyalista ka. Parang silang lahat espesyalista na, diba?
Pero Doc, hindi po ganoon kasimple yun. I mean, anybody can type in Google, but not everybody will know which are the right answers versus the wrong answers. That's why we need doctors.
And when you now ask, when I say, alam mo, ang second messaging namin is, listen to the experts. And an expert cannot be a fake one, cannot be someone who just read the book, read the Google, read the internet and said, okay, I know everything. That is dangerous. Little knowledge is dangerous thing. Kaya nga, sana makinig talaga tayo. At ano yung source? Alam mo, pinakamahirap dyan pag nagbabasa ka ng social media, sino ba dito ang talagang eksperto? And I can tell you honestly, pagkatiwalaan natin ang FDA. Diba? Pagkatiwalaan natin WHO, ang CDC, ang National Institutes of Health, ang aming website, Philippine Foundation for Vaccination, baka gusto niyong puntahan, meron din kami niyan. Accredited kami ng WHO for Vaccine Safety Network. Yung PSMID, yung PIDS, marami. In fact, ako nga, natutuwa ako kasi kanina nag-uusap kami ng aking mga kaibigan sa pediatrics, sa PMA, si Dr. Benny Atienza ng PMA. Tawagan niyo siya minsan at sabihin niya na talagang nagkakaisa ang ating medical community na ang kukunin lang nating vaccine para tumaas ang kumpiyansa ng ating mga mamamayan sa bakuna yung na-register at nakita ang datos. Kasi maski sabihin mo na, okay, 50% efficacy lang totoo ba yan? Dapat titingnan muna natin, wag muna tayong maniwala hook, line, and sinker. Kasi napakaraming eksperto dito sa Pilipinas in terms of vaccination. Diyos ko, kung alam mo lang, isa ang Pilipinas sa pinakamagaling, nagyayabang ako, na vaccine trial dito sa Asia Pacific region. Nasa top 3 tayo ng mga gumagawa ng vaccine trial eh. That is before Dengvaxia. Nagkaroon ng bulilyaso nun. But even before, we have I can tell you honestly,
Yes, ma'am. And I believe you.
Nag-offer sa atin ng vaccine trial. I've
Yes,
been
ma'am.
doing vaccine trial for 35 years.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, pero I just want to be clear here. So let me zoom in again to my question and make sure that I understood correctly. For example, as far as you're concerned, as far as your foundation is concerned, the Vaccine Foundation, should government discontinue giving these unauthorized vaccines until the FDA gives it a formal approval until dumaan siya sa proseso?
Yes, definitely. At bigyan tayo ng magandang explanation. Kasi, kung baga meron naman niyang dahilan. Sabi nga, nakikinig naman ako eh. These are difficult times. These are different times. Alam mo, even in the beginning of this pandemic, nag-usap-usap na rin yung mga researchers. Paano tayo makaka-produce agad ng gamot? Paano makaka-produce agad ng vaccine? Kasi pandemic, this has not happened before. This is the first of a kind, unprecedented. So I can imagine the competition for the vaccine. People are really trying to get survival of the fittest. Ang mga leader ng gobyerno talagang mag-aagawan dyan. At siyempre, ang pinakamasaklap na hindi sana dapat mangyari, mapolitika yung vaccine. Kasi ang dapat manaig yung science. Yan ang pinapakiusap namin sa mga tao at sa mga policy makers natin. Ang manaig ay public health and the science of it all. Sapagkat kung ang mananaig ay yung mga tinatawag nating self-interest or political upheavals or whatever. I'm not a political person, but I've seen how our vaccines have been, ups and downs in the last since 1970. Alam mo ba, nagbabakuna na tayo since 1970 to millions and millions of our people, 1976 when the immunization law was passed. Ilan na yan? Almost 44 years na tayong nagbabakuna. Hindi pa ba tayo dapat natuto na ang bakuna ay dapat paniwalaan, mataas ang kompidensya natin dyan. Hindi tayo dapat magsawalang bahala tungkol sa bakuna para tayo magkaroon ng magandang kinabukasan dahil 95% of global health today is credited to vaccine. 230 years na ang bakuna sa mundo. Nauna pa yan sa antibiotics and all the drugs that you have been developing. And that will also be the way forward. It's the future. You can have vaccine against cancer, against Alzheimer's, against all kinds of illnesses. That is the future for vaccine. I can tell you that. That is what we need to really think about. And we hope this is where we will be going in the future.
Okay. Dr. Lulu Bravo, ma'am, maraming salamat for joining us tonight and thank you for all your insights. Dr. Lulu Bravo from the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination. Now, let's bring in Attorney Terry Ridon of the group Infrawatch. Is Terry online already?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Attorney, thank you for joining us tonight.
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
Ba't lahat kayo maaga mag-New Year?
Ay, syempre, ayaw na namin yung 2020. 2021 na dapat.
2021 nga, may bago namang variant. Bagong taon, bagong variant.
Bagong laban yun, bagong laban. Oh.
Totoo yun. Attorney Terry, teka muna. We want to talk, of course, about the president's mysterious list na nilabas niya. But before we go there, let me talk to you first about the vaccination. Yung mahiwagang vaccination na ginawa para sa Presidential Security Group. I understand that you earlier said that the palace should disclose the supplier of apparently Xenopharm yung vaccines if you go by the president's declarations on Saturday. Why do you see the need for this kind of disclosure?
Pero una sa lahat, siyempre gusto nating malaman kung sino dapat yung panagutin, ano? Doon sa smuggling ng bakuna sa loob po ng Pilipinas. Yung FDA, we are happy that the FDA has decided to run after those that had put the vaccines into the country without authorization from the FDA. It's a big step. Kasi nga ho, alam po ninyo, sige na, pagbigyan na ho natin yung PSG. Yun naman po mga inoculate, talagang mahirap naman ho silang sisihin talaga. Pero pwedeng sisihin, una, sino yung nagpasok? Pangalawa, sino yung pumayag na gamitin ang isang unauthorized vaccine sa isang inoculation program sa ating pong mga kasundaluhan. Malaking usapin po ito kasi siyempre may mausapin ng graft dyan, ano? So, dumepensa na ho yung palasyo dyan na, well, walang graft kasi maliit na bagay lang yan. Hindi ko alam.
Token daw, token. Sabi ni Atty. Harry Roque, it was just para daw Christmas cake. Parang birthday cake.
Oh, pero alam mo, tomato, no? So, ibig ko sabihin, they can make the defense all they want, no? Pero they basically have to defend that in the context of we are being strict to the Filipino public on everything else, hindi ba? In fighting the coronavirus crisis. Pero pagka ho, nahuhuli ang ilang mga tao, pagka meron nagmanganita, pagka meron pong nagpapabakuna, pag meron biglang nagpapaparty, parang okay na lang ho lahat bigla. Ibig sabihin, parang it falls flat into how serious government ought to be in confronting the coronavirus crisis. And ibig sabihin, dapat if we are strict in one area, we should be strict in all other areas, including making accountable the supplier of the vaccine and the person that made the go signal to inoculate our PSG. So, sabi nila kasi, ano ba naman yung magagawa natin dyan? Donasyon. Pero alam po ninyo, may magagawa po tayo. Una, like what we had been stating, una pwede nyo i-blacklist yung pong vaccine supplier po niya. Kasi basically unauthorized po talaga. So kung meron pong priority purchase ng vaccines, which is what I think NTF wants to do by the first 3 months of next year, dapat tanggalin nila ho sila dyan. Kasi syempre you're basically flouting regulatory rules, no? And the FDA had put its foot down already na they are not accepting the explanation and they want to run after those that smuggled the unauthorized vaccines into the country.
And yung nag-donate pa ng vaccines, would he have a leg up in any future vaccine contract?
Well, I would say na dapat tanggalin na sila sa listahan. Ibig sabihin, even irrespective of whether or not this constitutes graft, and irrespective of whether or not this is a token as what the palace wants to say, alam po ninyo, it's a good thing that the president is always mindful of yung walang masabi yung tao. Hindi ba? In many of the speeches, yan ho yung lagi niya sinasabi. Itong bagay po na ito, baka dapat he has to put his foot down on the matter as well. Para wala din ho masabi yung tao. Kasi, syempre, mahirap po talagang hindi maniwala na parang this is being given to officials, is being given to our personnel para magkaroon ng leg up doon po sa regardless of whether it's true, that is the impression that we will be having pagka ho ganyan yung naging kalagayan.
Kaya sabi nga ni Dr. Benjamin ko kagabi sa amin yung suka nga kailangang dumaan ng FDA, bakuna pa kaya.
Tama po yan. So ibig sabihin, alam niyo, yung mga palusutuan ng gobyerno, tigil na ho nila yun kasi hindi naman ho nakukumbinsi yung tao. Kasi hindi naman ho yan yung unang beses na they're asking us to treat them with kid gloves, no? We had seen it in the birthday parties, we had seen it in many things, no? Kinukulong niyo yung mga biglang wala lang face mask, no? Pero pinagbibigyan niyo yung malalaking mga opisyal. Itigil na ho nila yun. Dapat kung saan ho mapunta yung pagpapanagot, paabutin na ho nila. Anyway, sinabi naman po ng FDA, nahahabulin po nila kung sino po yung nagpapasok ng bakuna at nagpagamit po nito sa mga kasundaluhan po natin.
Pero Attorney Terry, from what I understand, yung FDA declaration was a general declaration. It's the same declaration that they've made even before this controversial occurrence, na only authorized FDA vaccines should be allowed, and that the FDA will go after those who violate the law. are you confident that that Director Domingo could, for example, go after people in Malacanang?
Well, I think naman kanina, maganda naman yung sinabi nila na they will investigate. We should start somewhere and we should start there, no? So, kailangan bantayan na lang po siguro ng publiko kung meron po ba talagang mapapanagot. And I think we don't want this to reach the same story as yung nangyari po doon sa previous kid glove treatment that we had been affording many of our high government officials. No? So we will place that leadership question on Director General Eric Domingo.
Okay. Attorney Terry, let me shift gears naman. Let's go to the President's speech last night where he named several members of Congress and the Usec engineers allegedly involved in corruption with the DPWH. However, meron siyang disclaimer of sorts na wala raw hard evidence yet he released the list. Sabi niya in the spirit, I think, of transparency and freedom of information. Your thoughts on this?
Well, una ho sa lahat, I think the most recent update of that today is, I think from both sides of the political aisle, no, from the Liberal Party to the closest allies of the President, is basically disowning that disclosure. So, I think that severe pushback should give the palace some pause on how serious this entire thing is. Kasi nga, alam po ninyo, hindi lang naman po yung, at ang pagtingin ko, hindi lang po ang Kongreso ang napahiya dito, hindi lang po ang DPWH ang napahiya dito, and they had placed the President on a very awkward situation. Kasi nga, if you had seen the video last night, the President had to make not just one caveat, he had to make like 5 caveats before disclosing the names, ano? So, ibig sabihin, gusto naming malaman dito, why did high government officials supply the President with, firstly, uncompleted staff work, and secondly, unvetted information? So, ibig ko sabihin, this entire pushback that we are seeing today from both sides of the political aisle on this disclosure, talagang they deserved it, no? Kasi wala akong kahit anong detalye, sa totoo lang. We would have wanted, in fact, just to be frank, no? Alam po niyo, we had called on PACC to make that disclosure together with Congressman Mike Defensor a few weeks back, I think a few months back, nung unang putok nito. Pero that is on the condition na completed staff work, full vetted information, at saka ready for filing. Ibig sabihin, it rises at the very level man lang po ng probable cause. Ibig sabihin, ready for filing na pwede ko na ikasa, may affidavits na, sinabi na, boss, humingi ito. Boss, humingi na 1 milyon to. Boss, talagang yung DE, kakonsyaba nito. Merong affidavit. Pero, what did we see last night? Ano talaga parang may sumbungan session, sinulat yung sumbong, pinadala sa palasyo, report sa publiko kagabi. So, I think the public deserves more than that. And to be fair to Congress, it is the same thing, na it's basically just talagang sinisi natin lahat without anything, no? Ibig sabihin, may mga detalye pong binanggit, pero where is the affidavit, no? Na nagsasabi na halimbawa, merong enrollment fee, o halimbawa, yung pong kalsada talagang nasira, no, ng maigsing panahon lang po. And I wanted to say also na syempre, yung pong ilang mga kongresista naman po na ito, I think more than anything else, no, even if they come from the districts and from the party lists, syempre meron din naman ho nga track record yung ilan po doon sa mga kaibigan ho natin sa Kongreso na mga binanggit kagabi. So halimbawa, Teddy Bagilat, very, very high respected former government official na kasama ho sa grupo na talagang anti-corruption watchdog. So, parang it doesn't really make sense, no? Bakit merong ganun pong disclosure on him? Helen Tan.
Or maybe it does make sense then.
Well, hindi ko alam, no? Parang yung syempre,
being malicious here, but maybe in that sense it does make sense.
Hindi, yung sabihin, parang we'd like to see more of a pattern, and yun talaga magpapakita talaga na meron hong, if there is a contractor that is complaining, sige, mag-affidavit ka, di ba?
Parang may panghahawakan ka dapat. May panghahawakan ka dapat.
Tapos kung nagsinungaling ka, perjury ka, di ba? Kung nagsinungaling ka, libel ka. Pag nagsinungaling ka, slander ka. So, ibig sabihin, hindi yung parang we are going to hide behind the power of the president, the bully pulpit
The
of the
immunity.
president. Kasi syempre, yung mga kongresista ho ba, makakapalago yan pagka pinangalanan ho sila ng Pangulo, even without evidence. Alam nyo, sa totoo lang, kahit sabihin ho nila na parang, oh, the president made one caveat, 5 caveats, no? The public will not remember the caveats, eh. Hindi ba? What the public will remember is that there were 8 congressmen that were named by the president as allegedly undertaking corrupt activities in infrastructure projects. So, we would have wanted to be a little bit more fair, no? Sa lahat po ng personalities involved. And I think more importantly, doon po sa mga district engineers, no? Kasi syempre meron ng mga corrupt napatunayan ng mga corrupt na district engineers, pero lahat po ba ng ito mga corrupt na mga district engineers? Mahirap pong gumawa ho ng sweeping generalization on the basis of nothing, no? And okay gumawa ng generalization on the basis of something, on the basis of an affidavit, on the basis of some documents rising to the level of probable cause.
But could the president just be a passive participant here? I mean, yes, we could blame the person who gave him the documents, but in the end, it was the president who made the disclosure during his address. And we have seen that time and again. I mean, how many times has he released a drug list to the same effect?
Hindi, siyempre, wala ding lusot yung Pangulo dito. Kasi ultimately, it was him that voiced the names, eh. Di ba? Basically, the final buck stops with him for making a disclosure on unvetted information. And syempre, ayaw ho natin mangyari yan kasi in so many instances, it has not only caused public humiliation and destruction of public reputation, in some instances, it has even caused death. Hindi ba? Injury, jail time for people that had been named by the president on various issues. So, I think dapat tigilan na ho natin yung ganun pong disclosures na kulang-kulang ho impormasyon at basically unvetted information and publicly disclosed by the highest officer of the land.
Now, Attorney Terry, one interesting note though, of course, the president named several members of the Liberal Party doon sa kanyang disclosure last night, pero he also named a congressman who is believed to be very close to him and his allies, yung taga-ACT-CIS party list, si Congressman Eric.
Well, actually,
Eric
mabigat
Yap,
nga ho
yeah.
yan. Eric Yap, mabigat ho yan kasi syempre, I think the consequence of that is really, it's going to rock the Duterte coalition on this matter kasi nga, tinignan ho namin yung, I think the speech yesterday said na parang tumawag ata si Congressman Yap, sa PACC. So, pero on the basis of that lang ho, parang medyo mahirap gumawa ng conclusion na talaga meron ng nefarious activities being undertaken by congressmen on the matter. And I think I'd like to say na syempre in previous issues nagdebate din kami ni Congressman Yap on ABS-CBN, on many other things, no? Pero yun na nga ho, kailangan ho talaga ng dagdag pang mga dokumento para ho talaga magpatunay. And the problem really is, ayun na nga, syempre, napangalanan ho yung mga malalapit po ng mga kaalyado, talagang the burden of proof rests on the PACC to actually build a case on all of these personalities. Kasi, alam po ninyo, pagka ho nasopla yan, pag wala ho yan napatunayan na kahit ano, I think it would basically diminish as well yung pong anti-corruption efforts of the president. And unfortunately, in the last 2 years, talagang yan, wala pa ho talaga tayo masyadong nakita na seryosohan na napanagot in the last few years of the administration.
Okay, Attorney Terry Ridon of Infrawatch. Attorney Terry, maraming salamat for joining us tonight.
Maraming salamat, Manong Ed. Happy
Manong
New
Ed.
Year.
Okay. And that'll be all for this Tuesday edition of the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.
Hello?